Hello aspirants, I hope all of you are in good health and doing absolutely fine. On behalf of Eden IS, I welcome you all to this discussion video on General Studies paper of Civil Services Preliminary Examination 2024. This video is helpful for all the aspirants who have attempted this year's prelims and also for those who are currently preparing and are planning to take the examination in successive years. Friends, the examination is done and I hope that you have performed to the best of your abilities. In this video, we will try to take a look at the question paper of General Studies and we will try to understand how the paper was. We will try to understand from which section how many questions were asked, how these questions were, and on a scale of difficulty where we can place these questions. So without further ado, let's get started. But before going into a particular section, it would be helpful for us to take a look at the number of questions related to a particular section in this year's question paper. And let's try to compare that with some of the previous years for a point of reference. So if we take a look at Indian history, art and culture, this year the number of questions were 9, whereas in 2023, 13 questions were asked from this section. Indian polity and IR saw a slight increase from 14 to 17 questions this year. Geography was a big surprise. In 2023, there were only 9 questions from geography, but this year, the number of questions were 18. Environment and ecology dropped from 21 to 70. Indian economy and development rose from 14 to 18. General science and technology nearly doubled itself from 5 to 10. Current affairs saw a big drop from 24 to 11. So friends, if we rate this paper on a scale of difficulty, I would say that this paper was easy to moderate. Some of the questions can be called as difficult questions or they can be called as tricky. But more or less, the paper was doable and any aspirant who has prepared well might have done well in this question paper. Before we look into a particular section, let me just tell you that I am coming up with my ethics foundation course and essay module. My ethics batch starts from 8th of July and the essay module commences from 13th of July. So friends, now let us start the discussion and we will start this discussion with Indian polity and Constitution. Nearly 17 questions were asked from Indian polity and Constitution. And if we take a look at these questions were easy to moderate. Although some of the questions were tricky, but they were doable. Overall, I feel that aspirants have done well in this section. So let's start by looking at the questions of this section. The first question was, with reference to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, consider the following statements. While any resolution for the removal of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha is under consideration. The first statement says, he or she shall not preside. Second, he or she shall not have the right to speak. Third, he or she shall not be entitled to vote on the resolution in the first instance. Which of the statements given above are correct? 1 only, 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. Now friends, this was a direct question related to the removal of the speaker from his office. We know that the speaker is the presiding officer of the popular chamber. When a resolution is under consideration which seeks to remove the speaker from his office, the speaker does not preside the sitting that considers that resolution. In simple words, whenever a sitting is conducted which seeks to remove the speaker from his office, the speaker does not chair that sitting. Second statement says that he, she shall not have the right to speak. Now this goes against the principle of natural justice, which says that everybody has the right to be heard. So when the resolution seeks to remove the speaker from his office, the speaker has the right to speak and defend himself against the charges that are leveled against him. The third statement says she shall not be entitled to vote on the resolution in the first instance. Now see friends, the speaker generally has a casting vote. A casting vote means that whenever there is equality of votes on a particular issue and there is a tie, the speaker's vote acts as the tiebreaker. Now, if we give this power to the speaker when a resolution is under consideration that seeks to remove the speaker from his office, it would be ambiguous and it would be unnecessary. That's why when the resolution that seeks to remove the speaker from his office is under consideration, the speaker has the right to vote in the first instance like any other member of the Lok Sabha and no right of a casting vote. Therefore, for this question, the right answer was A, which means one only. That whenever a resolution that seeks to remove the speaker is under consideration, the speaker shall not preside. But he has the right to speak and he has the right to vote in the first instance. So for this question, the right answer was A, as statement is only correct. Article 94 Clause C and Rule 179 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business in Lok Sabha clearly highlights that the speaker shall not preside over the house when the resolution that seeks to remove the speaker from his office is under consideration. Let's take a look at the next question. With reference to the Indian Parliament, consider the following statements. A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses on its dissolution. A bill passed by the Lok Sabha and pending in the Rajya Sabha lapses on the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. Third, a bill in regard to which the President of India notified her intention to summon the houses to a joint sitting lapses on the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. Which of the statements given above are correct? 1 only, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 only. Now again, my dear friends, if you take a look at this question, a straightforward question. Anybody who has prepared polity well will be able to attempt this question. This question deals with the dissolution of the Lok Sabha and what happens on such dissolution. The first statement says, a bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses on its dissolution. Well, that's true. All the bills which are pending before the Lok Sabha on the date of dissolution lapse. So the first statement is correct. Second, a bill passed by the Lok Sabha and pending in the Rajya Sabha lapses on the dissolution of Lok Sabha. Logically thinking, this also is correct, because suppose the bill that has been transmitted to the Rajya Sabha by the Lok Sabha, if Rajya Sabha amends those bill or amend that bill, then that bill will fly back to Lok Sabha and Lok Sabha will take a look at the amendment. If there is a disagreement, there will be a joint sitting. But if suppose there is no Lok Sabha, then such a kind of joint sitting will not be a possibility, and that would be a violation of one of the basic rights available to the houses in the Constitution. Third, a bill in regard to which the President of India notified her intention to summon a joint sitting lapses on the dissolution of Lok Sabha. If the President has highlighted his intention to summon the joint sitting before the Lok Sabha has been dissolved, then such a joint sitting takes place irrespective of the dissolution of Lok Sabha. So, for this question, the right answer was B, which means 1 and 2 only. A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses on the dissolution of Lok Sabha, correct. A bill passed by the Lok Sabha and pending in the Rajya Sabha lapses on the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. This is also correct. But joint sitting summoned by the President prior to the date of dissolution of Lok Sabha remains unaffected, notwithstanding the dissolution of Lok Sabha. So, for this question, the right answer was B. Let's move to the next one. With reference to the Parliament of India, consider the following statements. prorogation of a house by the President of India does not require the advice of the Council of Ministers. Second statement, prorogation of a house is generally done after the house is adjourned sine die, but there is no bar to the President of India prorogating the house which is in session. Third, dissolution of the Lok Sabha is done by the President of India who, save in exceptional circumstances, does so on the advice of the Council of Ministers. Which of the statements given above are correct? 1 only, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 only. Prorogation refers to the ending of a session. Now, we all know that all sessions of the Parliament are summoned by the President. President has the power to summon and prorogue both the houses and dissolve the lower house. So, prorogation of a house by the President does require the advice of the Council of Ministers, because Article 74 of the Indian Constitution clearly highlights that the President shall act in accordance with the aid and advice tendered to him by his Council of Ministers. So, statement 1 becomes incorrect. Statement 2 is correct. Generally, prorogation is done when the House is adjourned sine die. However, the President is free to prorogue the House even when the House is not adjourned sine die. Adjournment sine die means that the presiding officer of the House, be it the Speaker or the Chairman, has decided that the House has stopped its sitting and has not declared the next time when the House will reassemble. So, the second statement is correct. When we look at the third statement, dissolution of Lok Sabha is done by the President of India who, save in exceptional circumstances, do so on the advice of the Council of Ministers. This statement is also correct. Article 85, Clause 2, Sub-Clause B of the Constitution states that Lok Sabha shall be dissolved by the President. This action is generally taken on the advice of the Council of Ministers, reflecting the practice in parliamentary democracy. However, in exceptional circumstances such as political crisis or when a no confidence motion is passed by the House, the President may act without such advice. We know that the Indian President, unlike some of the other presidents in some other democracies, do not enjoy any absolute discretion, but he does enjoy some situational discretion, and this is one of such instances. So, statement 3 is also correct. Therefore, for this question, the right answer was C, which means 2 and 3 only. The first statement is wrong. Prorogation of a House by the President of India does require the advice of the Council of Ministers. If no such requirement is mandated, then the President may behave like a dictator and may even go against the democratic spirit of the Constitution. Let's move forward. Let's try to take a look at the next question. A writ of prohibition is an order issued by the Supreme Court or High Courts to, well, we all know that Supreme Court has various kind of jurisdiction, and one such jurisdiction is the writ jurisdiction. Under writ jurisdiction, the Supreme Court issues writs. Writs are nothing but judicial instruments. They are in the nature of habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, and quo warranto. So, this question related to prohibition. Prohibition is a writ which is issued by a superior court against an inferior court when the inferior court has assumed jurisdiction which is beyond its constitutional limitation. In simple words, prohibition is issued by a higher court against a lower court, asking the lower court to stop the proceedings in a particular case. If we take a look at the options, then option C says the same thing. The lower court prohibiting continuation of proceedings in a case. So, for this question, the right answer was C. Let's move to the next question. Consider the following statements. It is the governor of a state who recognizes and declares any community of that state as a scheduled tribe. A community declared as a scheduled tribe in a state need not be so in another state. Which of the statements given above are correct? One only, two only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. Now, my dear friends, it is not the governor of a state who recognizes and declares any community as a scheduled tribe, but this is a right which is exclusive to the President of India. So the first statement in that case becomes wrong. The second statement, if we take a look, a community declared as a scheduled tribe in a state need not be so in another state, is correct, because in every state a scheduled tribe is declared by looking at historical and other socio-economic reasons. Therefore, the first statement is incorrect, whereas the second one is correct. A community recognized as a scheduled tribe in one state may not necessarily be recognized as such in another state. The recognition of scheduled tribes is state specific, and a tribe listed as a scheduled tribe in one state is not automatically considered a scheduled tribe in another state. This is because the criteria and conditions for recognition can vary across states based on regional contexts and historical factors. So for this question, the right answer was B, which means 2 only. The first statement is wrong because it is not the governor, but His Excellency, the President of India, who declare that whether a particular group should be given the recognition of scheduled tribe or not. Let's move to the next question. With reference to Union Budget, consider the following statements. The Union Finance Minister, on behalf of the Prime Minister, lays the annual financial statement before the Houses of Parliament. Second statement, at the Union level, no demand for a grant can be made except on the recommendation of the President of India. Which of the statements given above are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. Now, the Union Finance Minister does present the budget, but he does so on behalf of the government, and the government is headed by the President. In Constitution, nowhere it is written that the Finance Minister presents the budget on behalf of the Prime Minister, although in popular parlance we do refer to the budget and we ascribe the name of Prime Minister to the budget. But in technical terms, if we look at the articles or provisions of the Constitution, we will not find any of such kind of thing. The Finance Minister presents the budget on behalf of the government, and the government is technically headed by the President, although we know that the Prime Minister enjoy the real powers. The nominal powers are enjoyed by the President. So the first statement therefore becomes wrong. When we look at the second statement, at the Union level, no demand for a grant can be made except on the recommendations of the President of India. We know in the budget there are two kinds of expenditures. First, expenditure charged on the Consolidated Fund of India, that is non-votable. And the second one is expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India. Any such expenditure is possible only through an appropriation act, and an appropriation act is passed in the Parliament like a money bill. Before entries are made in the Appropriation Act, it is necessary to present demand for grants. By the way, my dear friends, demand for grants can be presented only in the Lok Sabha, because in money matters, Lok Sabha matters, and Lok Sabha enjoys extraordinary powers in case of money matters. Therefore, no demand for grant can be placed in Rajya Sabha. It has to be placed in Lok Sabha. The second condition for demand for grants is that no proposal for a demand for grant can be made without the recommendation of the President of India. So here in this question, the first statement is incorrect, but the second one is correct, as Article 113 Clause 3 clearly highlights that presidential recommendation is required for a demand for grant, whereas Article 112 says that the finance minister presents the budget on behalf of the government. So for this question, the right answer is B. It means 2. Let's move to the next one. How many delimitation commissions have been constituted by the government of India till December 2023? Now, this was a straightforward factual question. If you know it, you will attempt it. If you are not aware about it, then you might have struggled. Well, what is a delimitation commission? A delimitation commission is actually a commission which gives the recommendation. On the basis of that, delimitation acts are passed. On the basis of delimitation acts, electoral constituencies are created, and these constituencies are mostly created by looking at census figures. Okay, these constituencies are then used for returning candidates to the popular house, both at the union level as well as at the state level. In simple words, delimitation commission helps in creating the delimitation acts. The delimitation acts create the electoral constituencies which are used for the election of members to the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assembly. So this question asked, how many delimitation commissions have been constituted by the government till December 2023? The right answer was 4. The first one was done in 1952, second one in 1963, third one in 1973, and the fourth one in 2002. So the right answer for this question was 4. Let's take a look at the next question. The 71st Constitution Amendment Act 1992 amends the 8th schedule to the Constitution to include which of the following languages? The options were Konkani, Manipuri, Nepali, Maithili. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The options were 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 4, 1, 3 and 4, 2, 3 and 4. Now again, this was more or less something that tested your memory rather than your rationality or logic. The 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution contains all the languages which are known as Indian languages. In fact, in the civil services main examination, there is a paper on Indian language, and only those languages can be picked which are included in the 8th schedule to the Indian Constitution. As far as 71st Amendment was concerned, it included Konkani, Nepali and Methi, which is another name for Manipuri. So the right answer was A. Maithili was not an inclusion under 71st Amendment Act 1992. The right answer for this was A. 1, 2 and 3. It means Konkani, Manipuri and Nepal. Maithili was not included through this amendment. Let's move to the next question. Which of the following statements are correct about the Constitution? Powers of municipalities are given in Part 9A of the Constitution. Emergency provisions are given in Part 18 of the Constitution, and provisions related to the amendment of the Constitution are given in Part 20 of the Constitution. Select the answer using the code given below. 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. Again, a straightforward question related to which part deals with what. Yes, Part 9A deals with municipalities, Part 18 deals with emergencies, and Part 20 deals with amendment of the Constitution, the procedure for which is mentioned under Article 368. So the right answer for this question was D, it means all the statements are correct. Let's move to the next one. Which one of the following statements is correct as per the Constitution of India? Interstate trade and commerce is a state subject under the state list. Interstate migration is a state subject under the state list. Interstate quarantine is a union subject under the union list, and corporation tax is a state subject under the state list. This question tests your knowledge about the three lists of the legislation. These lists are mostly included in the 7th schedule of the Constitution. There are three lists specifically: union list, state list, and concurrent list. Subjects included in the union lists, only the parliament can legislate. Those in state list, only state legislature can, and those in concurrent list can be legislated by both the union as well as the states. Well, interstate trade and commerce is actually a part of the concurrent list. Interstate migration is a union subject, interstate quarantine is a union subject, and corporation tax is also a union subject. When we look at the options, option C appears to be the only option which is mentioned in the correct. So interstate quarantine is a union subject, interstate migration also a union subject, whereas in the question it says state subject. Corporation tax is a union subject, it's given in the question as state subject, whereas option A says interstate trade and commerce is a state subject, which is a concurrent subject. So the right answer for this question was C. Interstate quarantine is a union subject under the union list. Let's move to the next question. Under which of the following articles of the Constitution of India has the Supreme Court of India placed the right to privacy? I feel that if you have done the previous year's question papers properly, this question might have brought a smile on your face, because I don't know for how many years now UPSC has successively asked this question. In Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India case, the Supreme Court highlighted that Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, which deals with right to life and personal liberty, also incorporates within its ambit the right to privacy. Right to privacy today is a basic, fundamental right, inalienable right. All citizens enjoy that right. Okay. So the right answer was D. Let's move to the next question. Which of the following statements about the ethics committee in the Lok Sabha are correct? First statement says, initially it was an ad hoc committee. Second, only a member of the Lok Sabha can make a complaint relating to unethical conduct of a member of the Lok Sabha. Third, this committee cannot take up any matter which is sub judice. Now this question had an element of fact. The options that were given were 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. Now, if we take a look at the statements, you will see that the second statement does not appear logical, because ethics is something that should pervade, that should percolate, and we cannot keep the consideration of ethics in silos or in steel frame chambers. Whereas the second statement says only a member of Lok Sabha can make a complaint relating to unethical conduct of a member of the Lok Sabha. It clearly shuns out the right of others to ask ethical questions to any particular member of the Lok Sabha, especially those who are not members of Lok Sabha. And that would destroy the democratic spirit and will also devalue accountability on the part of the members of the Lok Sabha. So the second statement cannot be correct. This question could have been solved by applying this logic and by using the elimination technique. You see that all the options apart from C has second as an option, or the second statement as an option. Therefore, the right answer for this one becomes C. If we look at the explanation, statement 1 is correct. In case of Lok Sabha, a study group of the House Committee of Privileges in 1997 recommended the constitution of an ethics committee, but it could not be taken up by Lok Sabha. The Committee of Privileges finally recommended the constitution of an ethics committee during the 13th Lok Sabha. The late Speaker Bal Yogi constituted an ad hoc ethics committee in 2000, which became a permanent part of the House only in 2015. Statement 2 is incorrect, and I have already extended the logic behind that. Statement 3 is again correct. The ethics committee generally avoids taking up matters that are sub judice. Even if you are not aware about the first statement and the third statement, which were more or less factual in nature, the second statement required a logical interpretation from your side. And if you have done that properly in the hall and used the elimination technique, then you could have easily got the answer, which was C in this case. Let's move to the next question. As per Article 368 of the Constitution of India, the Parliament may amend any provision of the Constitution by way of addition, variation, repeal. The options were 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. Well, amendment of a provision of the Constitution means what? It means that you can either add new articles or you can add words to an existing article, clauses or sub-clauses in a particular part, etc. So, addition is correct. Variation means you can change the nature of the text of the article. That is also possible through an amendment. And repeal means simply deleting a particular article or a part of it, or a clause or sub-clause. So, all three things can be done through an amendment. Only thing is that you have to follow the procedure prescribed under Article 368, and you should not violate the basic structure of the Constitution. So, for this question, the right answer was D. Everything could be done. Let's move to the next one. Which of the following statements are correct in respect to money bill? Article 109 mentions the special procedure in respect of money bills. A money bill shall not be introduced in the Council of States. The Rajya Sabha can either approve the bill or suggest changes, but cannot reject it. Fourth, amendments to a money bill suggested by the Rajya Sabha have to be accepted by the Lok Sabha. Again, you see, as I told you that in money matters, Lok Sabha matters, or the House of the People enjoys extraordinary powers as far as money bill is concerned. Article 109, yes, it highlights the special procedure that you have to follow when you try to pass money bill in the Parliament. Now, this procedure is like the money bill can be introduced only with the recommendation of the President. It can be introduced only in the Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha cannot amend the money bill, nor can it reject the money bill. It can only suggest recommendations on the money bill, but those recommendations regarding amendments are not binding on the Lok Sabha, because in money matters, Lok Sabha matters. So when you look at these statements, you see that the first statement is correct, the second statement is correct. The money bill can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha and not in the Rajya Sabha. Statement 3 is correct. When a money bill is passed by the Lok Sabha, it is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha for its recommendations. The Rajya Sabha must return the bill within 14 days, either with its recommendations or without any recommendations. The Rajya Sabha cannot reject a money bill. It does not have the power to amend the bill in a manner that includes provisions other than those related to matters specified in Article 110 Clause 1, whereas Statement 4 is incorrect, because Statement 4 said that amendments to a money bill suggested by the Rajya Sabha have to be accepted by the Lok Sabha. That is not true. Okay, the amendments suggested by Rajya Sabha are not binding on the Lok Sabha. First, Rajya Sabha cannot amend the bill. It can only give recommendations on the money bill, but such recommendations are also not binding on the Lok Sabha. So the right answer for this question was C. It means 1, 2 and 3. The fourth statement was incorrect. Let's move to the next question. The Northeast Council was established by the Northeast Council Act 1971. Subsequent to the announcement of NEC Act in 2002, the council comprises which of the following members? The governor of the constituent state, chief minister of the constituent state, 3 members to be nominated by the President of India, the Home Minister of India. The options were 1, 2 and 3 only, 1, 3 and 4 only, 2 and 4 only, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Well, the Northeast Council is not a constitutional body, but it was created under the Northeastern Council Act 1971. It is created mostly with the intention to create a kind of bonhomie and cooperation between all the 8 northeastern states. So when we look at this question, all these statements are correct. Northeast Council is under the administrative purview of Ministry of Development of Northeast Region. Home Minister is the ex officio chairman of the NEC. NEC is not a constitutional body but a statutory body established under the Northeastern Council Act 1971 as amended in 2002. It is the nodal agency of the economic and social development of the Northeastern region, which consists of the 8 states of Arunachal, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim and Tripura. The council comprises governors and chief ministers of constituent states and 3 members nominated by the president. So there was an element of fact in this question, but if you have prepared your polity well, this question was not very difficult. Okay, a straightforward question, a question which can be expected in the question. Let's move to the next one. Who was the provisional president of the Constituent Assembly before Dr. Rajendra Prasad took over? It's a straightforward question, a factual question again. See, the Constituent Assembly, obviously we know it was created to create the Constitution, and the Constituent Assembly was like the super parliament. So the super parliament should have a presiding officer. Obviously, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, he was the presiding officer of the Constituent Assembly, but like we have the tradition of appointing Speaker pro tem before the Speaker assumes his office. Similarly, before Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elevated to that position, Dr. Sachidananda Sinha acted as the provisional president of the Constituent Assembly. So the right answer for this question was option D. So that was the polity section, my dear friends, a section which was easy to handle, or you can say relatively easy to handle. Those who have performed well in this section, I feel their chances are bright now in the examination. Let's pick the next section, which is geography. Geography section had a good number of questions this year. Nearly 18 questions were asked from this section alone. Physical geography and map marking dominated to some extent. In sum, we can say that this section was also easy to moderate and was doable, although some of the questions were slightly on the difficult side. So let's take a look at the questions that were asked under this section. The first question says, Statement 1, Sumedh Pipeline is a strategic route for Persian Gulf oil and natural gas shipments to Europe. Statement 2, Sumedh Pipeline connects the Red Sea with the Mediterranean Sea. Now the options are both statement 1 and 2 are correct, and statement 2 explains statement 1. Both statement 1 and 2 are correct, but statement 2 does not explain statement 1. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. Now friends, Sumedh Pipeline is actually an alternative to the Suez Canal route, and therefore it's a strategic route for Persian Gulf oil and natural gas shipments to Europe. That makes statement 1 correct. Statement 2 says that this pipeline connects the Red Sea with the Mediterranean Sea. If we take a look at the map, that is also true. However, These two statements are true independently, and statement 2 does not explain statement 1. Therefore, the right answer for this question is option B. Both statements are correct, but statement 2 is not explaining statement 1. Let's take a look at the map. You can see that the Sumed pipeline is an alternative to the Suez Canal route, and it connects Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. Let's move to the next question. Consider the following statements. The Red Sea receives very little precipitation in any form. No water enters the Red Sea from rivers. Which of the statements given above are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. Again, a very map-based question to some extent, and you have to have a good understanding of climate of West Asia, East Africa to answer this question. The first statement says Red Sea receives very little precipitation in any form. It's a correct statement. The Red Sea is not one area which receives good rainfall or heavy rainfall. And statement 2 says no water enters the Red Sea from rivers. Yes, there are no major rivers draining into the Red Sea. Red Sea mostly receives water from the sea. That's why you see in this question, both the statements are correct. So the right answer for this one will be C. Statement 1 is correct. The Red Sea region is characterized by arid and semi-arid climate with extremely low precipitation levels. The areas surrounding the Red Sea, including Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, generally receives minimal rainfall throughout the year. Statement 2 is correct. The Red Sea is mostly isolated from major river systems. The amount of fresh water entering the Red Sea from rivers is negligible compared to other seas. The Red Sea primary source of water is through seawater inflow. Therefore, the correct answer for this question is C. Both the statements are correct. Let's move to the next one. The longest border between any two countries in the world is option A, Canada and the United States of America, B, Chile and Argentina, C, China and India, D, Kazakhstan and Russian Federation. Well, again, this was more of a fact kind of question. The right answer for this question is option A, Canada and United States of America. This border is more or less an open border between both the countries and is known for its peaceful existence. Okay. The length of this border is 8,891 kilometers, which roughly translates to 5,525 miles. So the right answer for this question was option A, Canada and USA. Let's move to the next one. The total fertility rate in an economy is defined as. This was a question which stems from human geography, and total fertility rate or TFR refers to the average number of live births a woman would have by the end of her childbearing age. In other words, TFR refers to the total number of children that a woman would have during her reproductive age. So for this question, if we look at the options, option A says the number of children per 1,000 people in the population in a year. That's not correct. The number of children born to a couple in their lifetime in a given population, whereas TFR refers only to the female. Therefore, the second statement or the second option is also not correct. See, the birth rate minus death rate, that is actually growth of population. So that's also not correct. And the last one is the average number of live births a woman would have by the end of her childbearing age. It means during her reproductive age, how many live births or how many children a woman would bear, that is TFR or total fertility rate. It is always a point of concern for policymakers and a point of interest for demographers. So for this question, the answer was option number D. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following description. Annual and daily range of temperature is low. Second, precipitation occurs throughout the year. Third, precipitation varies between 50 centimeter to 250 centimeter. What is this type of climate? Options were equatorial climate, China type of climate, humid subtropical climate, and marine west coast climate. Now, some aspirants might have got confused in this question and they might have picked option A, which is equatorial climate. Annual and daily range of temperature is low, precipitation occurs throughout the year. Both these statements more or less relate to equatorial climate, but when you look at the precipitation range that is given, then the answer does not relate to equatorial climate, but it gives a more indication towards marine west coast type of climate. So the answer for this one was option D, marine west coast climate. The temperature of marine west coast ecosystem is very mild and does not fluctuate greatly. There are only two seasons, summer and winter. So the annual or the daily range of temperatures is low in the marine west coast type of climate. The region is so humid because it can receive 50 to 250 centimeter of rain in a year. And this region is known for its wet, humid air. So that's why for this question, the right option was option number D, marine west coast climate. Let's move to the next one. With reference to Coriolis force, which of the following statements are correct? Coriolis force is actually a force generated due to the rotation of the earth on its axis. As the earth spins on its axis from west to east, anything that moves in the northern hemisphere turn towards its right, and anything that moves in the southern hemisphere turn towards its left. This shifting towards the right in north and left in south is the Coriolis effect. Okay, this Coriolis effect impacts every moving thing, be it winds, ocean currents, or any other thing that is moving in the northern hemisphere or in the southern hemisphere. A point that has to be noted here is at the equator, Coriolis is 0, whereas at the poles, Coriolis is maximum. Further, faster the movement, greater is the deflection. Like if a wind moves at a faster pace, it will deflect more to its right if it is moving in northern hemisphere, and to its left if it is moving in the southern hemisphere. Now let's take a look at the options. With reference to the Coriolis force, which of the following statements are correct? It increases with increase in wind velocity. Yes, that's correct. Second, it is maximum at the poles and it is absent at the equator. That's also correct. In fact, Coriolis force is required for the formation of tropical cyclones, and because Coriolis is 0 at the equator, there are no tropical cyclones at the equator. The options that were given was 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. The right answer was C. Both statements were correct. Let's move to the next one. On June 21 every year, which of the following latitudes experiences a sunlight of more than 12 hours? First, equator. Second, Tropic of Cancer. Third, Tropic of Capricorn. Fourth, Arctic Circle. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 1 only, 2 only, 3 and 4, 2 and 4. Well, 21st of June is that date when the sun rays are directly incident over the Tropic of Cancer. This is known as the summer solstice. All the latitudes north of the equator have a greater portion of them lying in the sunlit hemisphere and lesser portion of them lying in the dark hemisphere. In simple words, on this date, every place north of the equator has longer days and shorter nights. And longer days and shorter nights can happen only when days are more than 12 hours and nights are less than that. Okay, so on this date, if you see what are the latitudes which are north of the equator, you will find there are only two: Tropic of Cancer and Arctic Circle. Because Tropic of Capricorn is south of equator, and obviously we have to look at the latitudes from the reference of equator. This is summer solstice. On summer solstice, all the latitudes north of equator have longer days, shorter nights. It means the sunlight is more than 12 hours at all these latitudes. The answer for this one becomes D, 2 and 4. So that is what we get it here. Let's move to the next one. One of the following regions has world's largest tropical peatland, which holds about 3 years worth of global carbon emissions from fossil fuels, and the possible destruction of which can exert detrimental effect on the global climate. Which one of the following denotes that region? The options were Amazon Basin, Congo Basin, Hickory Basin, and Rio de la Plata Basin. Well, the right answer for this one was option number B, Congo Basin. Congo Basin, like the Amazon Basin, is a tropical evergreen rainforest region, and it does contains world's largest peatland. Peatlands are actually carbon sinks, and if they are destroyed, then it will have negative climatic ramifications. Okay, so that's why you see, if we take a look at this, the right answer for this would be the Congo Basin. Peatlands are important carbon sinks storing large amounts of carbon. The destruction or degradation of peatlands releases the stored carbon into the atmosphere, contributing to greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. The Congo Basin, located in Central Africa, contains vast tropical peatlands, especially in countries like the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Republic of the Congo. The Congo Basin's peatlands are estimated to hold about 3 years worth of global carbon emissions from fossil fuels, highlighting their critical role in global climate regulation. So the right answer for this question was option number B, which is Congo Basin. Let's move forward. The next question said, consider the following statement. Statement 1, the atmosphere is heated more by incoming solar radiation than by terrestrial radiation. Statement 2, carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are good absorbers of long wave radiation. Which of the following is correct in respect of the above statements? Option A said both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 explains statement 1. B said both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, but statement 2 does not explain statement 1. C said statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. D said statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. Now, the atmosphere, especially the lower atmosphere, I mean the lowest section of the troposphere, it is mostly heated by the outgoing terrestrial radiation. It means the heat released from the Earth's surface rather than the incoming solar radiation. That makes statement number 1 as wrong. The atmosphere is heated more by incoming solar radiation than by terrestrial radiation. This is what statement 1 reads. And as I told you, that the lower section of the atmosphere is mostly heated by the outgoing terrestrial radiation. And if statement number 1 is wrong, then obviously the answer for this question turns out to be D option, which is statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct, because it is one such kind of question. Carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are good absorbers of long wave radiation. That's true. That's why they are known as greenhouse gases, because they are more or less transparent to the incoming solar radiation, but they trap the outgoing long wave terrestrial radiation. That's how they keep the lower section or the lowest section of the atmosphere primarily warm. In fact, the greenhouse gases make life on Earth possible. Their greater concentration in the lower atmosphere becomes a cause of concern, because that can trigger global warming, which can cause climate change, which can have different kind of ramifications. Okay, so for this question, the right answer was option number D, which is statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following statements. Statement 1, thickness of the troposphere at the equator is much greater as compared to poles. Statement 2, at the equator, heat is transported to great heights by strong convection currents. Which of the following is correct in respect to the above statements? Both statement 1 and 2 are correct, and statement 2 explains statement 1. Both statement 1 and 2 are correct, but statement 2 does not explain statement 1. C, statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. D, statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. Well, the height of the troposphere is not similar or identical over all the latitudes. At lower latitudes, the tropopause, which is the section which separates troposphere from the stratosphere, or the highest part of the troposphere is located at a higher height, whereas at higher latitudes it is located at a lower height. The primary reason for this is that lower latitudes are warmer areas. Therefore, the air that comes in contact with lower latitude heats up more, and hotter the air, to greater height it would rise. So if you look at statement number 2, it says at equator heat is transported to great heights by strong convection currents. The vertical rise of hot air is actually known as convection currents or air currents. Okay, that's why you see that the thickness of the troposphere or the height of the troposphere at the equator is much greater as compared to the poles. The poles have colder surfaces, so the air that comes in contact with it cannot rise to a great height. That's why the height of the tropopause is less over the poles and more over the equator. So for this statement or for this question, option A turns out to be the right answer. It means both statements are correct and statement 2 is a right justification of statement 1. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following: pyroclastic debris, ash and dust, nitrogen, sulfur compounds. How many of the above are products of volcanic eruption? Like during volcanism, apart from magma, some gases, compounds and pyroclastic material are released. Pyroclastic material could be in any form, like say for example ash, dust, etc. It can also be in the form of small bombs. Okay, so when we look at all the options, we find that all of them are released during a volcanic eruption. So the right answer for this one becomes option D, which is all 4. Pyroclastic debris refer to a type of material ejected during volcanic eruption. It consists of fragments ranging in size from fine ash to large blocks and bombs. Ash and dust, obviously, it is normal to imagine such kind of things to be emitted from a volcanic vent. Some gases like nitrogen, hydrogen, etc. are also released, and some compounds of sulfur, etc. are also released. So the right answer for this one was all. Let's move to the next one. Which of the following inferences are correct from isothermal maps in the month of January? First, the isotherm deviate to the north over the ocean and to the south over the continent. Second, the presence of cold ocean currents, Gulf Stream and North Atlantic Drift make the North Atlantic Ocean colder and the isotherm bend towards the north. Select the answer using the code given below. 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. Now, what is an isotherm? An isotherm is an imaginary line drawn over the surface connecting places having equal temperature. Now, if we take a look at the isotherms, then we may understand that how actually this thing takes place. Imagine that suppose this is land and we have water around it, and then we have land located at a lower latitude and water around it. This is which season? It is the winter season, because the month that is highlighted here is January. Okay, now look here very carefully, that suppose in the winter season the temperature of land at a lower latitude, suppose it is 15 degree centigrade, then at a higher latitude it would be definitely less, 10 degree. And there is one concept in geography which says differential heating of land and water. The land heats up quickly and cools quickly. The water heats up slowly and cools slowly. This happens because water requires more heat energy to raise its temperature by 1 degree. In simple words, the continents become hotter during summers and colder during winters. So at the same latitude, the temperature of water during winter will be more than that of land. So if land is 15 degree, then this would be, say for example, this is 20 degree. This is also say 20 degree. Whereas at this latitude, If land is 10 degree, then it is 15 degree, and this is also 15 degree. Now, if I make a 15 degree isotherm, so it would look like this. So the first statement says the isotherm deviate to the north over the oceans and to the south over the continent. When we come towards the continent, it is moving to the south. But if we go towards the ocean, it is moving to the north. So the first statement is correct to that extent. The second statement is the catch here. When you look at the second statement, it says the presence of cold ocean currents, Gulf Stream and North Atlantic drift make the North Atlantic Ocean colder and the isotherms bend towards the north. Now, my dear friends, the Gulf Stream and the North Atlantic drift are actually not cold currents. They are warm currents. In fact, the warm Gulf Stream keeps the ports of Britain frost-free even during winters. Therefore, the temperature of the North Atlantic Ocean, especially Northeastern Atlantic Ocean, slightly rises because of these warm currents. There are some cold currents in this region, like the Labrador current or the Irminger current, but these currents, they are much smaller in size when we compare them with the mighty Gulf Stream. Anyhow, the second statement says that the Gulf Stream and North Atlantic drift make the North Atlantic Ocean colder. Now, this cannot happen. Warm water cannot, or warm ocean current cannot bring the temperature down. It will increase the temperature. Therefore, option 2 becomes incorrect in this case. Hence, if we take a look at the answer, it would be A. Statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect. Let's move to the next question. Which of the following countries are well known as the 2 largest cocoa producers in the world? Now, this was a straightforward question, and if you have read the basic NCERTs, you would have felt comfortable when you were attempting this question. It's straightforward, mentioned in the NCERTs. Okay, so option A says Algeria and Morocco, B Botswana and Namibia, C Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, D Madagascar and Mozambique. All the countries mostly present in Africa. The right answer for this was Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, option number C. And Ghana are the 2 top cocoa producing countries globally. These countries have favorable climates and soil conditions for cocoa cultivation, and their economies heavily rely on cocoa production and export. Together, they account for a significant majority of world's cocoa supply. In fact, most of the cocoa which is produced in these countries is exported to North American and Western European markets to be utilized in various industry like the chocolate industry, say for example. Next question said, with reference to Himalayan rivers joining the Ganga downstream of Prayagraj from west to east, which one of the following sequence is correct? In simple words, these are all northern tributaries of the Ganga, and we have to arrange them from west to east. The right option for this was option number B, Gomti, then Ghagra, then Gandak, and then Kosi. We can check it via a map. You'll see first one is Gomti, then you have got Ghagra, then you've got Gandak, then you have got Kosi. So the right option was option number B. Let's move to the next question. Consider the following statement. Statement 1, rainfall is one of the reasons for weathering of rocks. Statement 2, rainwater contains carbon dioxide in solution. Statement 3, rainwater contains atmospheric oxygen. Which one of the following is correct in respect of the above statements? A says both statement 2 and statement 3 are correct and both of them explain statement 1. B, both statement 2 and 3 are correct but only one of them explains statement 1. C, only one of statements 2 and 3 is correct and that explains statement 1. D says neither statement 2 and nor statement 3 is correct. Now, let's take a look at the first statement. Rainfall is one of the reasons for weathering of rocks. Yes, it's true. Rainfall ensures that there is some chemical weathering in the rocks because rainwater can get dissolved with atmospheric carbon dioxide. It forms a solution in which rocks can be forced to undergo some sort of chemical change. Okay, so in that case, statement 2 becomes correct. Rainwater contains atmospheric oxygen. That's also a true statement, by the way, because rainwater is pure water. It does not contain salts or major amount of salts, and that's why it contains a lot of oxygen in it. So both the statement 2 and 3 along with statement 1 are correct. But statement 3 does not help us in understanding statement 1. Only statement 2 backs statement 1, because if you take a look at the rainwater, when it comes in contact with carbon dioxide, it forms carbonic acid. And this carbonic acid, or H2CO3 in rainwater, causes chemical weathering of minerals. So all the statements are correct, but the third one is not a justification for the first statement. So the right option for this question turns out to be option B. It means both statement 2 and 3 are correct, but only one of them explains statement 1, which is statement 2. This explains statement 1, but 3 does not. Rainwater does contain a lot of oxygen because it does not contain any dissolved salts like ordinary water, and hence it can contain more of oxygen. Let's consider the next one. Consider the following countries: Finland, Germany, Norway, Russia. How many of the above countries have a border with North Sea? Again, a question which is taken from the section of map marking. The options are only 1, only 2, only 3, all 4. Now, for this, we have to take a look at the map, and when we will take a look at the map, we will understand that it's only Germany and Norway which shares a border with the North Sea. Finland and Russia are not countries which share border with the North Sea. So the answer for this one would be option B, only 2. Here, if you see that it is Germany and Norway which shares border with the North Sea. Other countries being like United Kingdom, France, Netherlands, Denmark, etc. Whereas there is no mention of Finland or Russia. So the right answer for this one is only 2. It means option number B. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following information. Dhuandhar, it's a kind of waterfall, and it is the region that is given adjacent to it is Malwa, and the river is Narmada. Second, Hundru, the region given is Chota Nagpur, the river is Subarnarekha. Third is Garsoppa, region given in Western Ghats, and the river is Netravati. Now, in the question goes like this: in how many of the rows is the given information correctly matched? Now, when we look at Dhuandhar, yes, it is formed over the Narmada. It's a waterfall located in Jabalpur of Madhya Pradesh. But the Jabalpur region is not a part of Malwa. Jabalpur is part of Mahakaushal. That's why the first one is not, the first row is not correctly matched because of this information. This has to be Mahakaushal instead of Malwa. When you look at Hundru, yes, it is found on the river Subarnarekha, this waterfall, and it is located in Chota Nagpur, which is the Jharkhand region. This row is correctly matched. When you look at the third one, Garsoppa, Western Ghats, here it is correct, but it is not on Netravati. It is on Sharavati, and therefore the right answer for this one turns out to be A, which means only one. Hundru location, Ranchi district, Chota Nagpur region, Jharkhand, on Subarnarekha. Famous Jog Falls in Karnataka state. Jog Falls is also known as Garsoppa Fall. Jog Falls was formed by the Sharavati river. Dhuandhar Fall in Jabalpur, which lies in Mahakaushal region. It's not the Malwa region. Okay, some aspirants might have got confused by looking at Malwa. They've thought that it is also part of Madhya Pradesh, so maybe this is the right answer. But my dear friends, this was not a correct option. Okay, so for this, the right answer is A, one only, or only one statement. Okay, let's move to the next question. Here also it says more or less the same thing. There is a region, name of mountain, and the type of mountain, and you have to find out that whether everything in a particular row is correctly matched. The first option was Central Asia, Vosges, Fold Mountain. Second, Europe, Alps, Block Mountain. Third, North America, Appalachians, Fold Mountain. Fourth, South America, Andes, Fold Mountain. Now, if you look at the first option, Central Asia, Vosges, is not found in Central Asia. Rather, it is found in France. Okay, and that's why this option immediately becomes a wrong choice. Europe, Alps, block mountain. Yes, Alps are found in Europe. In fact, Alps were found more or less at the same time when the Himalayas were raised. That entire event is known as alpine orogeny. But it is not a block mountain. It's a fold mountain. As I said, that they were raised parallel, or you can say simultaneous, with the Himalayan orogeny, and Himalayas are young fold mountains. The Alps are also one of such kind. North America, so the second row is also not correct. North America, Appalachians, fold mountain. It's correct. Appalachian located on the eastern coast of North America. South America, Andes fold mountain. Yes, Andes is also a fold mountain located mostly in the South America. And Andes continues to the north as Rockies and runs into Northern America. Some geographers believe that Rockies and Andes are actually one continuous chain of mountain. But others may have some kind of reservation to this. So for this, the right option was option B. Means row 1 is incorrect, 2 is incorrect, 3 is correct, 4 is correct. Therefore, the right choice becomes only 2. It means the right option is option B. Okay. Let's move to the next question. With reference to water vapor, which of the following statements are correct? It is a gas, the amount of which decreases with altitude. It's true. The amount of water vapor present in the atmosphere decreases with height. Why? Because the atmosphere becomes more and more rarefied with increase in height, and the atmosphere is actually a mixture of gases and dust particles. And if you look at water vapor, it's a kind of gas. The number of molecules of water vapor reduce with increase in height. That's true. So the first statement is correct. It's a gas, the amount of which decreases with altitude. Its percentage is maximum at the poles. Now this statement is not correct. Why? Because if you look at water vapor, how it comes into atmosphere? It comes into atmosphere by way of evaporation. At the poles, the temperature is not enough to cause evaporation. In fact, hot and humid areas have more water vapor content in the air, or generally hot is associated with humid, cold is associated with dry. Therefore, the right answer for this question was A, 1 only. The first statement is a correct statement. With increase in height, there is decrease in water vapor. The second statement, it says its percentage is maximum at the poles. This is not correct. So the right answer for this question was option A, which means 1 only. Okay. So friends, this was the geography section. Let us now move to the next section, which is history and current affairs. Let's now take a look at the questions that came under the sections of Indian history, art and culture, and current affairs. So let's start with the first question. Consider the following statements. Statement 1, there is instability and worsening security situation in the Sahel region. Statement 2, there have been military takeovers, coup d'etat in several countries of the Sahel region in the recent past. The options are Statement 1 and Statement 2 are correct, and Statement 2 explains Statement 1. Both Statement 1 and Statement 2 are correct, but Statement 2 does not explain Statement 1. Statement 1 is correct and Statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is incorrect, but Statement 2 is correct. Now, the Sahel region is one such region which has remained unstable for now a long period of time. The reason for this is the presence of extremist groups in this region. And because of this instability, many a times military coups have been hatched in these countries, and military governments have taken over civilian governments. So for this question, both the statements are correct, and Statement 2 is the right explanation of Statement 1. Let's take a look at the explanations. Statement 1 is correct. The Sahel region, which includes countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad, has been facing a worsening security situation in recent years. This instability is driven by the rise of violent extremist groups. Statement 2 is correct. The instability in the Sahel has also led to a series of military coups in several countries in the region. For example, there have been military takeovers in Mali, Chad, Guinea, and Burkina Faso in recent years. These coups are a direct consequence of the worsening security situation, as the military has often stepped in to take control in response to the inability of civilian governments to address the security challenges. So for this question, the right answer was option A. Both statements are correct, and second statement rightly explains the first statement. The next question reads as, which of the following statements about exercise Mitra Shakti 2023 are correct? First statement is, this was a joint military exercise between India and Bangladesh. Second, it commenced in Ondh, Pune. Third, joint response during counter-terrorism operations was a goal of this operation. And fourth, Indian Air Force was a part of this exercise. The options were 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 4, 1, 3, and 4, 2, 3, and 4. Now, this was one question, my dear friends, which could have been solved with the help of the application of elimination technique. And if you are aware that exercise Mitra Shakti is not an exercise between India and Bangladesh, your job was done. It is actually an exercise between India and Sri Lanka. Therefore, option D turns out to be the right answer. It means second, third, and fourth statements are correct. The first one is incorrect. This is a joint military exercise between India and Sri Lanka. Second, it commenced in Pune. That's correct. The exercise includes synergizing joint responses during counter-terrorist operations. The Indian Air Force was a part of this exercise. So, the right answer for this one was option number D, which means 2, 3, and 4. Let's move to the next one. Which of the following is the author of the books The India Way and Why Bharat Matters? In fact, both these books are bestsellers, and they are written by none other than the present serving External Affairs Minister of India, which is Dr. S. Jaishankar. In fact, I am carrying one of them, Why Bharat Matters. It is by Dr. S. Jaishankar, and S stands for Subramaniam Jaishankar. So the right answer for this question was option D, Subramaniam Jaishankar. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following pairs. Now, here pairs are given between country and the reason for being in news. And the question says that how many of the pairs given are correctly matched. So the first pairing is Argentina, worst economic crisis. Second, Sudan, war between countries' regular army and paramilitary forces. And third, Turkey rescinded its membership of NATO. Again, you see that this was all over the news, right? Turkey has not given up on its membership of NATO. Therefore, the third pair is definitely not correct. What about the other two pairs? Argentina going through a worst economic crisis, Sudan experiencing a war between countries' regular army and paramilitary forces. Well, the answer is yes, these two pairs are correct. It means Argentina is definitely going through a very bad economic phase for several years. The crisis is characterized by high inflation, a high public debt, and a history of economic instability. The conflict in Sudan has escalated into a devastating war between the country's regular military and powerful paramilitary forces, with grave consequences for the civilian population and the potential for further atrocities and humanitarian crisis. Turkey has not rescinded its membership to NATO. However, it has been in the news recently due to the opposition to Sweden's bid to join the alliance. So that's why you see for this question, option B, it means only two pairs turn out to be the right answer. Let's move to the next one. What are the duties of the Chief of Defense Staff, CDS, as the head of the Department of Military Affairs? First statement says permanent chairman of Chiefs of Staff Committee. Second, exercise military command over the 3 services chief. Third says principal military advisor to Defense Minister on all tri-service matters. The options are 1, 2 and 3, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 1 and 3. Again, question which can be solved with the application of elimination technique. If you look at the statements, statement number 2 is incorrect. The duty of the CDS is not to command, rather the duty of the CDS is mostly for operational reasons. Got it? It is for strategic military advice. It is not for commanding or giving some sort of orders. For the sake of military advice, this office has been created so that strategic alliance can be established between all the three forces during war and peacetime. So statement 1 is correct. The CDS acts as the permanent chairman of the Chiefs of Staff Committee. Second statement is incorrect. CDS does not exercise direct military command over the three services chiefs. Statement 3 is correct. The CDS serves as the principal military advisor to the defense minister on all tri-service matters. So the right explanation for this is 1 and 3 only. Again, one question that can be solved with the help of elimination technique. The second one, or the second statement, is not correct. Let's move to the next one. Operations undertaken by the army towards upliftment of the local population in remote areas to include addressing of the basic needs is called its Operation Sadbhavana. In fact, it was launched in Jammu and Kashmir. The idea was to win the hearts and minds of the people. Operation Sadbhavana is a term used by the Indian Army to describe its efforts towards winning the hearts and minds of the local population in conflict affected or remote areas. It focuses on humanitarian assistance, developmental activities, and fostering goodwill among the local communities. Okay, so option C turns out to be the right answer for this one. Next question. Consider the following properties included in the World Heritage List released by UNESCO. Shanti Niketan, Rani Ki Vav, sacred ensembles of the Hoysalas, Mahabodhi temple complex at Bodh Gaya. How many of the above properties were included in 2023? Well, all of them are included in the World Heritage List, but the question specifically talks about how many of them were included in 2023. The right answer is that Shantiniketan and the sacred ensembles of Hoysalas were included in the list in 2023, whereas the Mahabodhi complex at Bodh Gaya and Rani Ki Vav had been already included in 2014. So the right answer for this one would be option B. It means only 2. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following countries: Italy, Japan, Nigeria, South Korea, South Africa. Which of the above countries are frequently mentioned in the media for their low birth rates or aging population or declining population? In fact, these are the countries which are suffering from labor crisis. If you look at the countries and apply some common sense, you will find that Nigeria obviously is a developing country, has an expanding demographic pyramid or population pyramid. So 3 cannot be a choice. That eliminates option B and D. Italy, Japan and South Korea are developed countries, and population decline is generally a typical feature associated with developed countries. That's why you see that 1, 2 and 4 turns out to be the right option in this case. Let's take a look at the next question. Which of the following are correctly matched in terms of equivalent rank in the 3 services of Indian Defence Forces? So the first matching is between Brigadier, Air Commodore, Commander. The second one between Major General, Air Vice Marshal, Vice Marshal. Third one, Major, Squadron Leader, Lieutenant Commander. The fourth one, Lieutenant Colonel, Group Captain, Captain. Now, out of these 4, only third is correct. It means Major, Squadron Leader and Lieutenant Commander. Therefore, the right answer for this question becomes option D. It means 3 only. Let's take a look at why 1, 2 and 4 are incorrect. first one says Brigadier Air Commodore Commander, whereas the real matching should be between Brigadier Air Commodore and Captain. The second one says Major General Air Vice Marshal Vice Admiral, whereas the actual matching should be between Major General Air Marshal instead of Air Vice Marshal and Vice Admiral. The third one, as I said, is a correct match. Major, Squadron Leader and Lieutenant Commander. The fourth one, the match that is given in the question is Lieutenant Colonel, Group Captain, Captain, whereas the actual match should be Lieutenant Colonel, Wing Commander and Commander. So the right answer for this question is D. It means only one of the four is correctly matched. D, 3 only. Let's move to the next one. Which of the following was the latest inclusion in the Intangible Cultural Heritage List of UNESCO? Chow dance, Durga Puja, Garba dance, Kumbh Mela. Well, the right answer for this was Garba dance. It is the latest inclusion. So, Gujarat's traditional dance form Garba has been included in the list of intangible cultural heritage by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization or UNESCO. The popular dance form is the 15th cultural item from India to make it to the UNESCO list. Kolkata's Durga Puja was the last one added 2 years ago. So the right option for this one was Garba dance or option C. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following airports: Doni Polo Airport, Kushinagar International Airport, Vijayawada International Airport. In the recent past, which of the above have been constructed as greenfield projects? Options were 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. Another question which can be solved with the help of elimination technique. Now, for answering this question, you must know what is a greenfield airport. A greenfield airport is one which is built from scratch. It means no existing facilities were there when the project was launched. It starts afresh. When we look at the 3 airports, Vijayawada International Airport is not a greenfield airport because there existed some facilities in Vijayawada that has been upgraded with time. Whereas for Donipolo and Kushinagar, no facilities existed. That's why they were greenfield, or they are greenfield airports. In fact, the government has in principle given nod to 21 greenfield airports in India, and Kushinagar, Donipolo happens to be in that list. So the right answer for this one would be option A. It means 1 and 2 only. Vijayawada International Airport, located in Andhra Pradesh, underwent significant expansion and upgradation, but it was not entirely a greenfield project. It involved upgrading the existing airport infrastructure to international standards rather than starting from completely unused land. So the right answer was option A. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following pairs: Bharatiya Janasangh, Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee; Socialist Party, C. Rajgopalachari; Congress for Democracy, Jagjeevan Ram; Swatantra Party, Acharya Narendra Dev. Which of these are correctly matched? The first one is correctly matched. Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee was associated with the Bharatiya Janasangh, and the third one, it means Babu Jagjeevan Ram, was associated with the party called Congress for Democracy, whereas the second and fourth are not correctly matched. Therefore, the answer for this question turns out to be option B. It means only 2 pairs. C. Rajgopalachari was associated with the Swatantra Party, not the Socialist Party, while Acharya Narendra Dev was associated with the Socialist Party and not Swatantra Party, whereas the other 2 options are correctly matched. Next question. With reference to the Government of India Act 1935, consider the following statements. It provided for the establishment of an All India Federation based on the union of the British Indian provinces and princely states. First statement. Second statement, defense and foreign affairs were kept under the control of the federal legislature. Which of the statements given above are correct? Yes, the Government of India Act 1935 envisaged a federation which consisted of the British provinces and the princely states. It was mandatory for the provinces to join the federation and optional for the princely states to join the federation. The princely states never joined it. Therefore, the federation that came into existence in 1937 was actually one which consisted of only British Indian provinces and no princely states. So that's why the first option, or the first statement rather, is correct. Whereas the second statement says defense and foreign affairs were kept under the control of federal legislature. If we use some common sense, we'll understand that defense and foreign affairs are important agencies, right? They are important departments. A colonial government will never hand it over to a popular legislature. In fact, they were kept under the control of the Governor General and his council. That's why the second statement is incorrect, whereas the first one is correct. Therefore, the answer is A. Statement 1 correct, statement 2 incorrect. Let's move to the next one. Which of the following is a work attributed to playwright Bhas? Now, Bhasya was an ancient Indian playwright who is believed to have lived sometime between 3rd century BC and 3rd century CE. Madhyama Yoga. This book is attributed to the playwright Bhas. It portrays a love triangle between a king, a courtesan, and a young man. So this book is associated with Bhas. So the right answer for this is Madhyam Vyayoga. Let's move to the next one. Sanghbhuti, an Indian Buddhist monk who traveled to China at the end of the 4th century AD, was the author of a commentary on Pragya Paramita Sutra, Vishuddhimaga, Sarvastivada Vinaya, and Lalita Vistar. The right answer for this is Sarvastivada Vinaya, which is a kind of code for monks following the Sarvastivada tradition. So the right answer was option C. Sanghbhuti is historically noted for his role in transmitting the Sarvastivada Vinaya, a significant Buddhist text related to monastic discipline, to China. The Sarvastivada Vinaya is a set of rules and regulations governing the conduct of monks and nuns in the Sarvastivada tradition of Buddhism. So this is what you have to keep in mind. The next question. With reference to ancient India, Gautam Buddha was generally known by which of the following epithets? Nyayaputra, Shakyamuni, and Tathagata. The options were 1 only, 2 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. None of the above are epithets of Gautam Buddha. The right answer is 2 and 3 only. It means option B. In fact, Nyayaputra, this name was associated with Mahavir or Lord Mahavir. Whereas Shakyamuni, it means the sage of the Shakyas. And Tathagata, it means one who has arrived or one who has just left, was associated with Gautam Buddha or Siddhartha. Okay, so that's why option B turns out to be the right answer, 2 and 3 only. Nyayaputra is associated with Mahavir. That's why it is incorrect. Next question, again match the following kind of question. An archaeological site is given, a state is given, and a description is provided. So the first matching is Chandraketugarh, state Orissa, trading port town. Second, Inamgaon, Maharashtra, Chalcolithic site. Third, Mangadu, Kerala, megalithic site. And fourth, Shalihundam, Andhra Pradesh, rock cut cave shrines. The right answer for this is 2 and 3 only. It means Inamgaon, Maharashtra, Chalcolithic site. That's correct. Mangadu, Kerala is a megalithic site. That's also correct. The first one is incorrect and the fourth one is incorrect. In fact, row 1 is incorrectly matched because Chandraketugarh is a site in eastern India which is famous for terracotta seals with Brahmi inscription. And the fourth one, Shaliundam, is located in the state of Andhra Pradesh. It is famous for historical monasteries, whereas the question says rock cut cave shrines. The other two are correctly matched. So the right answer for this is B. It means 2 and 3 only. Let's move to the next one. Which of the following rulers of medieval India gave permission to the Portuguese to build a fort at Bhatt? The right answer for this is Krishnadev Raya. He is the person who gave the permission. Let's take a look. Krishnadev Raya was a prominent ruler of the Vijayanagar Empire during the 16th century. He was known for his military campaigns and patronage of arts and literature. During his reign, the Portuguese sought permission to establish a fort at Bhatkal, which was strategically located for trade and naval activities along the western coast of India. Krishnadev Raya granted permission to the Portuguese to build a fort at Bhatkal, thereby allowing them to strengthen their presence in the region and engage in trade activities. So the right answer for this question was Krishnadev Raya. Narsimha Saluwa, Muhammad Shah III and Yusuf Adil Shah are not the right pickings. Let's move to the next one. With reference to revenue collection by Cornwallis, it's Lord Cornwallis, consider the following statements. Under the Rayatwari settlement of revenue collection, the peasants were exempted from revenue payment in case of bad harvests or natural calamities. Statement 2. Under the permanent settlement in Bengal, if the Zamindar failed to pay his revenues to the state on or before the fixed date, he would be removed from his Zamindari. Which of the statements given above are correct? Now, the second statement, logically, it is correct, obviously. But the first statement, if you look at that, the Britishers would never come up with a revenue settlement system which gives some sort of relaxation to the peasantry. They would never do that because the entire purpose of the colonial government or its existence in India was extraction of resources and collection of taxes. Therefore, the first statement is incorrect. Right answer for this becomes B. 1 incorrect, 2nd correct. Let's move to the next question. Consider the following statements. There are no parables in Upanishads. Upanishads were composed earlier than the Puranas. Parables means short stories. Now, short stories are often used in Upanishads to convey a philosophical message. Therefore, the first statement is incorrect. Upanishads were composed earlier than the Puranas. It's correct because Upanishads are actually culmination of the Vedas. So, for this question also, statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct. Let's now try to move to the next section. This was history, art and culture and current affairs. Next, we will take up environment, science and technology. Let's now take a look at the questions that featured under the category of environment and ecology and science and technology. The first question goes something like this. Consider the following statements. Statement 1, the European Parliament approved the Net Zero Industry Act recently. Statement 2, the European Union intends to achieve carbon neutrality by 2040 and therefore aims to develop all of its own clean technology by that time. Which of the following is correct in respect of the above statements? Both statement 1 and 2 are correct and statement 2 explains statement 1. Both statement 1 and 2 are correct, but statement 2 does not explain statement 1. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. Well, this was a factual question and this thing actually appeared in the newspapers. So you have to know it to answer it. And the right answer is option A. Both the statements are correct and the second one justifies the first one. So the right option was option A. Let's move to the next one. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, which one of the following is the largest source of sulfur dioxide emissions. Options were locomotives using fossil fuels, ships using fossil fuels, extraction of metal from ores, power plants using fossil fuels. The biggest culprit of sulfur dioxide emission are power plants that use fossil fuels. So the right answer for this question was option D. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following materials: agricultural residues, corn grain, wastewater treatment sludge, wood mill waste. Which of the above can be used as feedstock for producing sustainable aviation fuel? Options were 1 and 2 only, 3 and 4 only, 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1, 3 and 4 only. Well, again, a factual question, and all of them can be used as feedstock for producing sustainable aviation fuel. So the right answer for this one was option C, 1, 2, 3 and 4. The production of sustainable aviation fuel focuses on utilizing feedstocks that are renewable and sustainable, thereby reducing greenhouse gas emissions compared to conventional fossil fuels. And agricultural residues, corn grain, wastewater treatment sludge and mill waste all can be used as feedstock for producing sustainable aviation fuel. Let's move to the next one. The organism Cicada, froghopper and pond skater are birds, fish, insects, reptiles. Again, to answer such kind of questions, you must actually know what these species are. The right answer for this was insects. They all are insects. In fact, Cicada are large, often noisy insects belonging to the order Hemiptera. They are known for their distinctive songs produced by vibrating membranes on their abdomens. Froghoppers, also known as spittlebugs, belong to the superfamily Cercopoida within the order of Hemiptera. And pond skaters or water striders are insects belonging to the family of Geridae within the order of Hemiptera. So they are all Hemiptera species, they are all insects. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following pairs. Again, a question of match the pairs kind. Brazil, Indri, Indonesia, elk, Madagascar, bonobo. So a country is given and an animal found in its natural habitat. It means whether these animals are endemic to these countries or not. That's the question. How many of the pairs given above are correctly matched? Only one, only two, all three, none. Let's take a look at the answer. The answer is D. It means none. In fact, Indri is found in Madagascar, not Brazil. It's a type of lemur. Elk is found naturally in North America and parts of Eurasia, not Indonesia. Bonobo is a species of great ape found naturally in Democratic Republic of Congo, not Madagascar. So the right choice was option D. Let's move forward. Consider the following statements. Statement 1. Many chewing gums found in the market are considered a source of environmental pollution. Statement 2. Many chewing gums contain plastic as gum picks. Which of the following is correct in respect to the above statements? Both statements are correct and the second one explains one. Both statements are correct. The second one does not explain the first one. One is correct, two is incorrect. One is incorrect, two is correct. The right answer for this was A. It means both the statements are correct and the second one explains the first one. In fact, chewing gums, especially those that contain synthetic polymers like plastic in their gum base, do contribute to environmental pollution. When gum is discarded improperly, it can persist in the environment for a long time because its synthetic nature leads to littering issues in streets, parks and other public spaces. So for this question, both the statements are correct and the second one explains the first one. Let's move to the next one. Lions do not have a particular breeding season. Unlike most other big cats, cheetahs do not roar. Unlike male lions, male leopards do not proclaim their territory by scent marking. Now, the options were 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, 1, 2, 3. Question that could be solved with the help of elimination technique. The first two statements are correct, but the third one is not correct. In fact, male leopards also, they mark their territory by using their urine or by rubbing their skin against the bark of trees. Okay, so statement 1 is correct, 2 is correct, 3 is incorrect. Male leopards do indeed mark their territories using scent markings like male lions. They use urine and claw scraping on trees to define and defend their territories from other males. So, no particular breeding season for lions. Unlike most big cats, cheetahs do not roar. Instead, they produce a variety of vocalizations including purrs, chirps, growls and hisses. Okay, so cheetahs do not roar. That's what you have to keep in mind. Let's move to the next question. Which of the following is the correct description of million farmers? So, if we just look at the definition of million farmers, we will see that 100 million farmers is a platform supporting private and public leaders to position food and farmers as central pillars on the global climate and nature agenda and accelerate collective action to scale climate and nature friendly agricultural practices. And if we look at all the four options, statement that is given in option A fits the best to the description of million farmers. Hence, option A, which reads as it's a platform for accelerating the transition towards and water systems that are net zero, nature positive and aims to increase farmer resilience, is actually a description of million farmers. So the right answer for this one is option A. Let's move to the next one. Which one of the following shows a unique relationship with an insect that has evolved with it, and that is the only insect that can pollinate this tree? Options were fig, mahua, sandalwood, silk. The right answer is fig. In fact, fig, the insect, and the tree has developed a mutualistic symbiotic relationship. So the answer is A. Figs have a unique and specialized relationship with a specific species of wasp called the fig wasp. This relationship is an example of mutualism where both the fig tree and the fig wasp depend on each other for survival and reproduction. In fact, pollination, life cycles, everything is integrated. So the right answer is option A. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following: butterflies, fish, frogs. How many of the above have poisonous species among them? All these species have some variety within them where the species contains poison. In fact, in butterflies, we can find it in the form of monarchs and blue morphos. For fish, also there are certain fishes which may contain some sort of toxin. And for frogs, there is obviously the dart frog example, which is poisonous heavily. So the right answer for this was all. It means all three. So the option becomes C. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following: cashew, papaya, red sanders. How many of the above trees are actually native to India? It means which of them are endemic to India? Only one, only two, all three? None. Cashew and papaya are not endemic to India, but red sanders is. So the right answer for this one is A. It means only one. Cashew was brought to India by the Portuguese. It's a native crop of Brazil. Papaya is native to southern Mexico and neighboring Central America, whereas red sanders is found along the southern Eastern Ghats and it is quite popular in India. So the right answer is option A. Let's move to the next one. With reference to perfluoroalkyl and perfluoroalkyl substances that are used in making many consumer products, consider the following statements. PFAS are found to widespread in drinking water, food and food packaging materials. PFAS are not easily degraded in the environment. Persistent exposure to PFAS can lead to bioaccumulation in animal products. Which of the statements given above are correct? 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 1 and 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, a question that can be solved with the help of the elimination technique. And the answer was D. It means all of them are correct. Okay, so you see that PFAS has become a cause of concern for environmentalists. Why? Because it is causing irreparable damage to the environment. It is also leading to bioaccumulation, biomagnification. So the right answer for this one was D, 1, 2 and 3. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following: carabid beetles, centipedes, flies, termites, wasps. Parasitoid species are found in how many of the above kind of organisms? Only 2, only 3, only 4, all 5. Well, this question is actually indicating that parasites can grow over which of the above species. Though they themselves can be parasites, but which of the above species may act as host for other parasites as well. This question has become a point of controversy. Many people think that the centipedes and termites are not species that allow parasitoids, but there are enough evidences to show that termites and centipedes may also act as hosts. That's why, on the safe side, the right answer for this question should be all 5. In fact, centipedes are predatory arthropods that are also typically host parasitoid species that host parasitoid species like the rat lungworm. And whereas when you look at termites, termites are social insects that typically act as host for parasitoid species. They host numerous parasitic arthropod species called termitophiles. The others, obviously beetles, flies and wasps, they may act as hosts. Okay, so the right answer for this should be D. It means all 5. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following plants: groundnut, horsegram, soybean. How many of the above belong to the pea family? Only 1, only 2, all 3, none. The answer is C, all of them. Groundnut, which is peanut, horsegram and soybean. They all belong to the pea family. Again, a straightforward question, so easy to attempt. Next one. Consider the following statements. The Indian flying fox is placed under the vermin category in the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Second statement, the Indian flying fox feeds on the blood of other animals. Which of the following is correct in respect to the above statement? Both statements correct and the second explains the first. Both statements correct, second does not explain the first. Statement 1 is correct, statement 2 is incorrect, statement 1 is incorrect, 2 is correct. If you look at statement number 2, the Indian flying fox feeds on blood of other animals, that is wrong. The Indian flying fox actually eat fruits. And if you know just this thing, then you can easily attempt this question. It means statement 2 becomes incorrect. That gives us the answer as C. The Indian flying fox is an animal that feeds on fruits, nectar and flowers. Next question, which one of the following words, phrases is most appropriately used to denote an interoperable network of 3D virtual worlds that can be accessed simultaneously by millions of users who can exert property rights over virtual items? Big data is not the answer, nor is cryptography or virtual matrix. The right answer for this thing is metaverse, option C. Metaverse refers to collective virtual shared space created by the convergence of virtually enhanced physical reality and physically persistent virtual reality. In the metaverse, users can interact with each other and digital objects, often using avatars. It is envisioned as an interconnected network of virtual worlds, allowing for seamless interaction and collaboration across different platforms and environments. Next question, with reference to radioisotope thermoelectric generators, RTGS, consider the following statement. RTGS are miniature fission reactors. RTGS are used for powering the onboard system of spacecrafts. RTGS can use plutonium-238, which is a byproduct of weapons development. Which of the statements given above are correct? Again, 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. The first statement is not correct. RTGS are not miniature fission reactors. The second and the third statement therefore becomes automatically correct depending on the question. If we look at the choices, option B becomes the answer. First statement is incorrect. RTGS are not miniature fission reactors. They have been used by space agencies like NASA, and plutonium-238 is produced as a byproduct. So the next question goes something like this. Consider the following statements. Statement 1, giant stars live much longer than dwarf stars. Second statement, compared to dwarf stars, giant stars have a greater rate of nuclear reactions. Which one of the following is correct in respect of the above statements? Both statements correct. Statement 2 explains statement 1. Both statements are correct, but statement 2 does not explain statement 1. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. Well, the right option for this is D. It means statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. In reality, giant stars generally have shorter lifespans compared to dwarf stars. If you just know this fact, then obviously you will be able to attempt this question. Giant stars are larger and more massive than dwarf stars, but they burn through their nuclear fuel at a much faster rate due to their higher rate of nuclear reactions and greater luminosity. As a result, they have shorter lifespans in astronomical terms. Giant stars, due to their large sizes and higher mass, have stronger gravitational pressures in their cores. This leads to higher temperature and pressure, which in turn results in faster nuclear reactions compared to dwarf stars. This increased rate of nuclear fusion contributes to higher luminosity and shorter lifespan of giant stars. So, for this question, the right choice was option D. Let's move to the next one. Which of the following is synthesized in human body that dilates blood vessels and increases blood flow? Nitric oxide, nitrous oxide, nitrogen oxide, nitrogen pentoxide. The right choice for this one was nitric oxide, or option A. Nitric oxide is a molecule synthesized in various cells of the human body, primarily by endothelial cells lining the blood vessels. It acts as a vasodilator, meaning it relaxes the smooth muscles of blood vessels, causing them to dilate. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following aircrafts: Rafale, MiG-29, Tejas, Mk-1. How many of the above are considered as fifth generation fighter aircraft? The answer is none. None of them. Rafale is actually 4.5 generation, MiG-29 is 4th generation, and Tejas Mk-1 is an indigenous 4th generation lightweight multi-role fighter. So the right option for this one was D. It means none. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following activities: identification of narcotics on passengers at airports or in aircraft, monitoring of precipitation, tracking the migration of animals. In how many of the above activities can radars be used? Now, most of the people might think that it can be used in all of the above. Well, in the first case, it cannot be used. Radars cannot be used to detect narcotics on passengers. In fact, radar is a program launched by the United States government to fight the drug addiction. It's known as Rapid Drug Analysis and Research. So many people might feel that the first thing may relate to radar, but actually radar can be used for monitoring of precipitation and tracking of migration of animals. So the right choice for this question was B, only 2. For identifying narcotics, we may use other techniques like X-ray scanning, sniffer dogs, chemical analysis, etc. Let's move to the next one. In which of the following are hydrogels used? Controlled drug delivery in patients, mobile air conditioning systems, preparation of industrial lubricants. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 1 only, 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. The right answer is in all. In all cases, hydrogels are widely used. So hydrogels are used in biomedical applications, particularly for controlling drug delivery systems. Hydrogels can be used in development of advanced materials for cooling systems, including mobile air conditioning, and hydrogels can also be used in industrial applications, hydrogel based lubricants. So the right answer was D. It means all the above. Let's move to the next one. Which one of the following is the exhaust pipe emission from fuel cell electric vehicles powered by hydrogen? Hydrogen peroxide, hydronium, oxygen, water vapor. The right answer was water vapor. Fuel cell electric vehicles use hydrogen as their fuel source and generate electricity through a chemical reaction between hydrogen and oxygen in the fuel cell stack. This reaction produces electricity to power the vehicle, and the only byproduct is water vapor. So the right answer was option D. Next question. Recently, the term pumped storage hydropower is actually and appropriately discussed in the context of which one of the following? Again, a question which directly came out of the current thing that is going on with respect to science and technology. Irrigation of terraced crop fields, lift irrigation of cereal crops, long duration energy storage, rainwater harvesting system. The right answer is long duration energy storage. Pumped storage hydropower is a method for storing energy by using two water reservoirs at different elevation. During times when electricity demand is low, excess electricity from the grid is used to pump water from a lower reservoir to an upper reservoir. Then, during times of high electricity demand, the stored water is released back down through turbines to generate electricity. So, it's a long duration energy storage system. The next question is, membrane bioreactors are often discussed in the context of health. They are used for wastewater treatment technologies. Assisted reproductive technology, drug delivery, nanotechnology, vaccine production technologies is not the right choice as far as this question was concerned. Wastewater treatment technologies has to be the answer. So the answer is D. MBRs are advanced wastewater treatment technologies that combine biological treatment processes with membrane filtration. In MBR systems, microorganisms biologically break down organic matter and pollutants in wastewater. The key component of MBR is the membrane filtration system, which separates treated water from solids biomass in the bioreactor. Let's go to the next question. Consider the following: battery storage, biomass generators, fuel cells, rooftop solar photovoltaic units. How many of the above are considered distributed energy resources? Only one, only two, only three, all four. The answer is all four of them. So that was the section related to science and technology, environment and ecology. We are left with only one section, which is economy. Let's now go on to that section. So the only section left for us to discuss is Indian economy, agriculture and social development. good number of questions were asked from this section as well. If I have to categorize the questions, I will put them in the category of easy to moderate. Some of the questions were slightly difficult. In fact, there were at least 2 questions that created a kind of confusion in the minds of the aspirants. However, most of the questions were moderate and some were straightforward, which can be solved by utilizing the elimination technique. So let's take a look at all the questions that featured under this category. First question goes something like this. Consider the following statements. Statement 1, India does not import apples from the United States of America. Statement 2, in India, the law prohibits the import of genetically modified food without the approval of the competent authority. The options were both statements are correct and the second one explains the first one. Both statements are correct and the second one does not explain the first one. The first statement is correct and the second one is incorrect. The first statement is incorrect and the second one is correct. Now, if you know this, that USA is a major exporter of apples to India, you can easily solve this question. You can use your elimination technique and you will find that the option D turns out to be the right answer, because there is no option in this question where both statements are incorrect. So the moment you find one as incorrect, you automatically understand that the second one has to be correct, and therefore this fourth option, which is option D, becomes the right choice in this case. Keep this in mind that there were several questions in the economic section which followed more or less this kind of a nature. And if you look at statement number 2, it makes complete sense. How can a country allow genetically modified food to be imported without having a proper mechanism of approval by a competent authority? That's why for this question, the right answer is option D, which means statement 1 is incorrect, whereas statement 2 is correct. In fact, USA was a major exporter of apples to India till recent past. However, in the recent past, the Indian government has imposed some tariffs which has reduced the quantum of apples imported to India. Okay, so let's take a look at the next question. Consider the following statement. Statement 1, recently Venezuela has achieved a rapid recovery from its economic crisis and succeeded in preventing its people from fleeing, emigrating to other countries. Statement 2, Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves. The options are more or less similar to the last question. Both statements correct, second one explaining the first one. Both statements correct, second one not explaining the first one. Statement 1 is correct, statement 2 is incorrect, statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct. Now again, if you are reading the newspapers of late, you will know that Venezuela has not recovered from its economic crisis. In fact, in some few months back, the crisis aggravated to such an extent that there was large-scale emigration from Venezuela. The moment you know this, you know that the answer has to be D again, because the first statement turns out to be incorrect. Venezuela definitely has the world's largest oil reserves. So for this question also, statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct, and that's why D turns out to be the right choice. The next question goes something like this. With reference to the Digital India Land Records Modernization Program, consider the following statements. To implement the scheme, the central government provides 100% funding. Under the scheme, cadastral maps are digitized. An initiative has been undertaken to transfer and transliterate the records of rights from local language to any of the languages recognized by the Constitution of India. The options are 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. Again, you have to know the details of the Digital India Land Records Modernization Program to answer this question. If you look at all the three statements, you will find that all of them are correct. That's why option D turns out to be the right choice. In fact, Digital India Land Records Modernization Program is a scheme where the central government provides 100% funding to the states and union territories. One of the key objectives of this scheme is to digitize the cadastral maps. Cadastral maps are the detailed maps showing the boundaries of the land parcels, which was a major pain point. Ascertaining the boundaries of land parcels was a major pain point in India, and the digitalization of that will help to resolve this problem to a large extent. The third statement is also correct. Yes, under the program, there is some transliteration facility from local language to any of the recognized languages which are recognized by the Constitution of India. Let's move to the next one. With reference to the Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritva Abhiyan, consider the following statement. This scheme guarantees a minimum package of antenatal care services to women in their second and third trimesters of pregnancy and 6 months post-delivery health care service in any government health facility. Under this scheme, private sector healthcare providers of certain specialities can volunteer to provide services at nearby government health facilities. Which of the statements given above is are correct? One only, two only, both one and two, neither one and two. Again, look at this, friends. The first statement is half correct and half incorrect. The first part of the statement is correct. The scheme, in fact, guarantees a minimum package of antenatal care services to the women in their second and third trimesters of pregnancy, and this part of the statement is correct. However, this scheme does not guarantee any post-delivery health care service in any government health facility. This thing, the second part of the statement, makes this statement incorrect, whereas the second statement under the scheme, private sector health care providers of certain specialities are encouraged to provide services at government health facilities. So the right answer for this question becomes option B. It means two only. In fact, government encourages the private players to volunteer themselves for such a noble cause, and it also improves the overall social capital in the country. So logically thinking also, you will find that statement 2 will be correct. The right answer for this was B. Next question, with reference to Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Man Dhan Yojana, consider the following statements. The entry age group for enrollment in the scheme is 21 to 40 years. Age specific contribution shall be made by the beneficiary. Each subscriber under the scheme shall receive a minimum pension of 3,000 per month after attaining the age of 60. Family pension is applicable to the spouse and unmarried daughters. Which of the statements given above are correct? 1, 3 and 4, 2 and 3 only, 2 only, 1, 2 and 4. Now, if you know that the entry age group for enrollment under the scheme is not between 21 to 40 but between 18 to 40, then half of your problem is resolved. It means option A and D are eliminated. Obviously, option 2, you do not have to beat your head against it. It is contained in both B and C. Also, option 4 gets eliminated with option A and D. The third statement says each subscriber under the scheme shall receive a minimum pension of rupees 3,000 per month after attaining the age of 60 years. This is a correct statement. So the right answer for this question becomes 2 and 3 only. Okay, so the right answer is B. Let's move forward. Consider the following statements. Statement 1, if the United States of America were to default on its debt, holders of US Treasury bonds will not be able to exercise their claim to receive payment. Statement 2 says the US government debt is not backed by any hard asset but only by the faith of the government. The options are again similar. Both statements correct. and the second one explaining the first one. Both statements correct. Second one not explaining the first one. Statement 1 correct, second incorrect. Statement 1 incorrect, second correct. Now this was a bit tricky. The United States of America, if it defaults on its sovereign debt or the money which it has borrowed by issuing treasury bonds, will the holders of the treasury bond have any kind of remedy? Yes, they will have remedy. It goes against a fair society. They may approach the courts. They may also file suits against the government of United States. So the first statement is not correct. It is incorrect. The moment that happens, the answer becomes D. Yes, it is true that the US government debt is not backed by any hard asset. For most of the developing countries, their debt is backed by their consolidated fund. But in US case, because of its superpower nature and the dollarization of the world economy, there is a general faith that the US government will not crumble even when other governments will crumble. And this faith was seen at the time of the double dip recession in Europe. Okay. So for this question, the right answer is D, which means statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. The United States, if it defaults, those who are holding the bonds will have the right to make a claim against the government. Although US government is now in a position that it can offer other instruments as well as a leverage tool. But you see that such kind of a blanket exemption cannot be given to any government. Okay. Let's move to the next question. Consider the following statement. Statement 1, syndicated lending spreads the risk of borrower default across multiple lenders. The syndicated loan can be a fixed amount lump sum of funds but cannot be a credit line. Both statements correct. The second one explaining the first one. Both statements correct. Second one not explaining the first one. Statement 1 correct, second incorrect. 1 incorrect, second correct. Now, what is syndicated lending? Syndicated lending is when more than one lender lends to borrowers. Okay, in that way they divide the risk or they share the risk of lending. Therefore, statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. It means that syndicated loan can be extended in the form of a credit line as well. Okay, syndicated loans can indeed be structured as either a fixed amount lump sum or on the basis of a credit line, which is revolving credit facility. So for this question, the right answer was C. It means first is correct and the second one is incorrect. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following statements in respect of the digital rupee. Digital rupee is like the Indian hard currency or the Indian rupee, which is issued by the RBI. It's like the Indian currency. Okay. Now, Indian currency is not a hard currency for the world, but for us, yes, obviously, the paper currency, we treat it as our tangible money, and that's why I use the word hard. Do not get confused that Indian currency is a hard currency. First statement is it is a sovereign currency issued by the RBI in alignment with its monetary policy. It appears as a liability on the RBI's balance sheet. Obviously, both these statements are correct. It is insured against inflation by its very design. Fourth statement, it is freely convertible against commercial bank money and cash. Obviously, this free convertibility facility is available, but neither the physical currency nor the digital currency, they are hedged against inflation. That's why third statement is incorrect. That makes the right answer as D. First is correct, second is correct, third is incorrect, the fourth one is correct. Remember, digital currency or the digital rupee is not a hedge against inflation. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following statements. India is a member of the International Grains Council. That's true. It's a fact. A country needs to be a member of the International Grains Council for exporting or importing rice and wheat. This is an incorrect statement. So the right answer becomes option A, which is one only. Like, say for example, think of several countries which are not part of the Grains Council, yet they are exporting or importing rice. Next question. Consider the following statements. In India, non-banking financial companies or NBFCs can access the liquidity adjustment facility window of the RBI. In India, foreign institutional investors can hold the government securities or G-SECs. In India, stock exchanges can offer separate trading platforms for debts. Now, which of the statements given above are correct? 1 and 2 only, 3 only, 1, 2, 3, 2 and 3. Now, see, the NBFCs do not have this right to access the liquidity adjustment facility. That is reserved for the scheduled commercial. So the first statement immediately becomes wrong. The right answer for this is 2 and 3 only. The other two statements are correct. In India, FIIs can hold the G-SECs and stock exchanges can also offer separate trading platforms for debts. So second statement and third statement is correct. In fact, the National Stock Exchange and the Bombay Stock Exchange do offer separate trading platforms for debt instruments, and foreign institutional investors can hold government securities but they come under the regulatory framework of the RBI. Let's move to the next one. In India, which of the following can trade in corporate bonds and government security? Insurance companies, pension funds, retail investors. The right answer is all of them. All of them can trade in corporate bonds. It means insurance companies, pension funds and individual retail investors all can invest in corporate bonds. Obviously, this is something that the government is doing to encourage the bond market. India has a very good share market, but it has not a good developed bond market, and this move is specifically designed to encourage the bond market in India. So the right answer is D. Let's move to the next question. Consider the following: exchange traded funds, motor vehicles, currency swap. Which of the above are considered as financial instruments? 1 only, 2 and 3 only, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 3. Obviously, motor vehicles are not. Therefore, the first one is correct, second is incorrect, and third is correct. Currency swap agreements India has signed with several countries, or India is planning to sign many of such agreements with other countries as well. One popular one is with Japan. Okay. So statement 1 is correct, 2 is incorrect, 3 is correct. So the right answer for this one is D. Motor vehicles, obviously, this is like a absurd option, right? It cannot be a financial instrument. It's a physical asset. Anyway, let's move to the next one. With reference to the sectors of Indian economy, consider the following pairs. Storage of agricultural produce. It's not secondary, it's tertiary. Like storage, transportation, these activities are tertiary activities. Dairy farm, primary. Mineral exploration, tertiary, it's a primary activity. Weaving cloth, secondary. Yes, weaving cloth is secondary. Manufacturing, processing, refining, these are all secondary activities. Okay, so for this question, the right answer is B. It means 2 only. Storage is not secondary and mineral exploration is not tertiary. The other two are written in the right way. So option B, which means only 2, becomes the answer. Let's move to the next one. With reference to physical capital in Indian economy, consider the following pairs. Farmer's plow, working capital. Computer, fixed capital. Yarn used by the weaver, fixed capital. Petrol, working capital. Now, fixed capital is something which is at one place and it is used to produce goods and services. Working capital is that capital which gets consumed during the production process. The physical capital may undergo wear and tear or depreciation, but it does not get consumed during the production cycle. Working capital is also sometimes referred to as floating capital. Fuel, for example, is an example of floating capital, working capital. Farmer's plow is a fixed capital. Computer is a fixed capital. Yarn used by the weaver is not fixed but working capital. Petrol is working capital or floating capital. So for this question, the right choice becomes option B. It means only 2. Let's move to the next one. With reference to rules imposed by the Reserve Bank of India while treating foreign banks, consider the following statement. There is no minimum capital requirement for wholly owned banking subsidiaries in India. For wholly owned banking subsidiaries in India, at least 50% of the board members should be Indian nationals. Now, this is again a fact-based question. It appeared all over PIB few months back. So, what is the right answer for this one? B. Statement 1 is incorrect. 2 is correct. Yes, 50% of Indians have to be included as board members. The first statement is incorrect. The RBI imposes minimum capital requirements for foreign banks establishing wholly owned subsidiaries in India, because that is used again as a hedge, so that the banking industry is very vulnerable, and if a bank fails, many things fail with it. Therefore, RBI carries this hedge. Let's move to the next one. With reference to corporate social responsibility rules in India, consider the following statement. CSR rules specify that expenditure that benefit the company directly or its employees will not be considered as CSR activities. CSR rules do not specify minimum spending on CSR activities. The right answer for this is A. Statement 1 is correct. Statement 2 is incorrect. The minimum is specified and it has to be at least 2% of their average net profits made during 3 immediately preceding financial years on CSR activity. Obviously, if a company spends on its employees and then calls it CSR, makes sense. That's why option A is correct answer in this case. Next question. With reference to Indian economy, collateral borrowing and lending obligations are the instruments of, these are instruments of money market. Obviously, bond market, forex market or stock market does not use these kind of instruments. Collateral borrowing and lending. It means you give an asset or you hold an asset and then borrow against that asset. Okay. So money market is the answer for this question. This question goes something like this. Consider the following statements regarding World Toilet Organization. It is one of the agencies of the United Nations. World Toilet Summit, World Toilet Day, World Toilet College are the initiatives of this organization to inspire action to tackle the global sanitation crisis. The main focus of its function is to grant funds to the least developed countries and developing countries to achieve the end of open defecation. Which of the statements given above are correct? The first statement is not correct because it is not an agency of United Nations. The second statement is correct. Yes, World Toilet Day, World Toilet College and World Toilet Summit are the initiatives of this organization. The third statement, however, appears to be correct, is not correct. The main focus of its function is to grant funds to the least developed countries and developing countries to achieve the end of open defecation. The main focus is not to grant funds. Okay, so the right answer for this one becomes option A, which is 2 only. The first statement is incorrect. World Toilet Organization is an NGO, not an agency or part of the United Nations. Statement 2 is correct. The World Toilet Organization organizes events like the World Toilet Summit, World Toilet Day and World Toilet College. Statement 3 is incorrect. While the WTO is involved in advocacy and awareness programs to improve sanitation, it does not primarily focus on granting funds to opportunities for achieving specific goals like ending open defecation. So my dear friends, that was the Civil Services Preliminary Examination 2024's General Studies paper. On a scale of difficulty, I would again hold this paper as easy to moderate with few exceptions where some questions were slightly tricky, but overall this paper was doable. So if you have attempted adequate number of questions and if you are getting good amount of marks, then you should start immediately your mains preparation. Take a small break and then make a plan and stick to that plan and start preparing for the mains examination. Suppose you're not scoring good and your marks are poor when you have matched the various keys and you're not finding that you will be in a position to get a call for the mains examination. Still, I would advise that you should start preparing for the mains examination, because what will happen is only in the womb of time. This is the time to focus on key areas like ethics, essay, optional subject, etc. Because these three areas are vital for success in the mains examination. To help your cause as far as the optionals are concerned, Eden is coming up with its optional mentorship program, the GS test series and mentorship program. It is also launching its optional courses. So geography, anthropology, PSIS, sociology and history optionals are available at Eden IS. The GS mains test series, which is created by a team of experts, and you will get good mentorship under that hand-holding approach. The focus is to improve your writing, starts from 3rd of July. So friends, this was everything that I had to offer to you as far as this discussion was concerned. My best wishes are with all of you. Keep learning and keep fighting.